Hey guys, what's up? It is Ripe again, back with a mix of Neighbors from Hell, malicious compliance and revenge stories. If you are new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our awesome community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Lied to Insurance Company About an Accident, Get Caught for Insurance Fraud. So last month I was in an accident where this guy misjudged his turn radius, leaving a parking lot, and hit my back bumper. His car was completely screwed up on the right side, his front right tire popped and the entire right side of his car got scratched and streaked with my red car paint. I knew there was already some weird stuff going on because when he pulled over, two Korean dudes come out of his car and literally just walk away. Keep in mind, this dude is a 50-year-old Middle Eastern man, but I was so shook up at the time, I was just like, what the hell? Okay. We get out, exchange info, he gives me his personal insurance, took pictures and said that we would be in contact about the next steps. I filed a claim literally an hour later because you know, that is what you're supposed to do, not like what this guy tries to pull. He contacted me that night and asked that we figure this out between ourselves, that he's a nice reasonable guy, that he just graduated law school. I don't know by the way how this was relevant in our conversation, maybe him trying to imply he will get me, that he has no money, blah blah blah. I was like, oh, I already filed the claim, and immediately his tone changed and he got all upset. I knew that he was going to screw me over. His insurance company called me a few days later saying that their client had not filed a claim yet and only knew because my adjuster contacted his adjuster to inform them of the accident. So they asked for my side of the story, which I gave honestly. They told me that they are obligated to give their client 14 days to contact them back before making a judgment. This was already 4 days after the accident and I was like, what the hell? This driver is sketchy as hell. A few days later, I get the call from their insurance. They determined that liability was 100% on me. This driver lied about everything. He lied where the accident occurred, lied about coming out of a parking lot, and claimed that the damage occurred when I merged into his lane. He even claimed that there were no passengers in the car. I was furious. How can he just effing try to pull this on me? The pictures obviously show the damage, and his story does not even make sense for the damage done. He probably thought that he lucked out because he was a 50-year-old man and I was a 20-something girl, that he would be able to use my inexperience against me. Well, screw that, get wrecked son. My insurance company tried to reason with his adjuster, but because no witnesses or dashcam, it became a he said she said battle. But my adjuster wouldn't give up. She was like, screw it, he didn't have Uber/Lyft stickers on his car, but let's just file a claim for both and see who contacts us back and try to poke holes in his story. And lo and behold, Uber contacted us back. They asked me about the incident and I was like, so here's the deal. This dude did not give me his Uber insurance, he gave me his personal insurance. So I am just here asking if you can confirm he was working for Uber at the time because he is straight up lying to his personal insurance. And the Uber adjuster was like, okay, this is a different situation because we thought this was a by-the-book accident, so now I have to go back to Uber and file an inquiry for more info. That was a week ago. On Monday I get a call back from Uber confirming that he had passengers in the car at the time and that he was driving for Uber during the accident. Oh yes, I call my adjuster, who then calls the driver's personal car insurance adjuster to let them know that this is about to go down. My adjuster calls me back and basically says that his personal insurance is dropping their claim, their only focus now is to get the money back that they gave for his repairs. My adjuster then tells me that the driver essentially committed insurance fraud by lying about everything and that he could have been trying to double dip both Uber and his own personal insurance, and that now this dude has a whole set of other issues to deal with. She tells me that his personal insurance is going to be contacting Uber and getting more info before moving on, but I get the impression that this dude is screwed. Got a call from Uber literally yesterday after I sent in estimates for my repair, and they are going to hook me up next week with a rental car and pay for my repairs ASAP. I am so thrilled and had the biggest justice boner ever, and it was effin' fantastic. I know I was lucky because if it wasn't for those 2 passengers, I likely would have been screwed. I only have liability insurance and I'm definitely going to invest in dash cams, but damn, this was a journey for my first accident. I am going to be living off this Schadenfreude for the entire year. And guys, I am wondering, have you ever been involved in a crash where the opposing party wanted or tried to commit insurance fraud? Let us know in the comments how it turned out. And while you're at it, I would really appreciate it if you could post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled Revolution Against Our HOA. My wife and I moved into a 64 townhome community that was 10 years old at the time. The HOA board was comprised of 5 members that were original homeowners when the community started and had been the sole board members since the community started. Their sense of entitlement was bad crap crazy. They thrived on their quarterly walkthrough of the neighborhood as they would write up every single home for some kind of violation, regardless of how minor the offenses were. Everyone gets a violation letter. Our first letter, the first month living there, was that our garage door paint was starting to peel. It was a 2 cm scrape where the panels met. It needed to be repainted, the siding needed to be power washed, there was a patch of green moss behind a bush, and the sliding door on the deck was dirty. There was dirt on the bottom of the door from recent rain and it needed to be washed. We had 30 days to fix the issues or beginning accruing a fee of $25 a day until they are resolved. I asked around and everyone gets these ridiculously petty letters every quarter. No matter what you did to maintain your townhome, you were going to get a letter about something. As this was going on, none of the major items the neighborhood needed fixed were addressed. After a decade since the construction, the ground had settled unevenly and many homes had standing water issues where it wouldn't drain after a storm. The rainwater would sit for 5 to 7 days in people's lawns. And more importantly, there had been a legal fight with the town since the community was started about our road being dedicated, meaning the town was responsible for snow removal. Our HOA dues included paying for our own snow removal, which we shouldn't have to, and we were paying an attorney for 10 years to fight this with no resolution in sight. Fast forward 2 years and a few of us had enough and decided to band together to replace the board at the next annual meeting. The existing board got wind of this and hit us all with pages worth of issues with our properties, since if you have outstanding issues, you are not in good standing with the community and thus cannot run for a board position or even vote for those running. This petty move brought the community even closer and we all spent the weekend before the meeting helping each other clean out their HOA honey-do lists. We took pictures, documented everything, and then we had the US mail certify delivery of each packet with the completed list and photos to the HOA board, who lived 75 feet away. Come board night, oddly enough the lawyer was there to give an update that no progress has been made with the township on dedicating our road. He stuck around as we moved to the elections for the next board. We brought our signed petitions to add our names to the ballot. The board says we were not eligible as we all have outstanding issues with our property. We call BS with our receipts from the post office that they received our completed lists with documentation. They reply that they haven't even reviewed them yet. We tell them that that is not our problem and we are in good standing. Their lawyer, overhearing this, states we are eligible to be on the ballot if we can confirm the issues with our homes were resolved prior to the meeting. The HOA president glares at the lawyer, but the lawyer just shrugs, saying, "The rules are the rules." With the exception of the 5 existing board members voting for themselves/each other, we are voted in nearly unanimously to replace them. I led the revolution because I was tired of the petty BS when there were real problems in the neighborhood. Sadly, the rest of the elected board members vote for me as president. I have no idea what I'm doing, but we spent the next few sessions removing all the dumb violations from most of the neighbors. We went through the bylaws to really focus on what is important. So, what happens next? Ends up that lawyer was a friend of the previous president and was in no hurry to resolve anything as he was enjoying our excessive bill. I notify him if it is not resolved in the next 6 months. We are finding new representation. He was actually good at his job when pressed to do it. He won the case, the town appealed and tried to drag it out. He fast-tracked the appeal as it had been going on for 10 years, and we won the appeal too. The town dedicated our road, and then the lawyer pressed that it should have been done years ago. It wasn't him slowing things down, but the town. He ends up getting us a settlement from the judge for back pay on us paying for snow removal that the town was responsible for. We ended up using that settlement to have French drains installed across much of the community to clear the water issues. With the money left over, we fixed a lot of the neighborhood issues that the HOA should have been doing the whole time. Fences and sidewalks in disrepair, replaced dead trees and shrubs, etc. It was great getting all that done without having to hit our capital reserve fund. I remained president until we moved a few years ago. Our family began to outgrow the townhome. Now we live in a new, larger development with a new HOA. I was asked to run for a position on it. I replied, not a damn chance, but I will lead a coup d'etat if I need to. By the way, edit, as to the original HOA president, a 50-year-old male, he wasn't actually eligible to be president, he wasn't on the mortgage, the townhome was in his mom's name, no one knew because he held the books. So, being the vengeful leader at the next annual meeting, I wait until ex-president shows up with his petition to try and get his position back, and I tell him in front of the other 60+ homeowners that he cannot even be at the meeting, let alone vote or be on a ballot, as his name is not on the property. But his mom is eligible if she wants to. That was embarrassing enough for the entitled little prick. And the next one is titled, My boyfriend organized a sting operation against a guy who scammed his sister. This is a pretty long story, but it is also pretty crazy. Fernando, fake name, 23, is my boyfriend. He has a sister, Luisa, fake name 26, who lives in Bogota, Colombia. Luisa and her baby girl live in quite an impoverished part of town, about 2 hours with public transport from the city center. Recently, Luisa and the father of her child decided to buy a plot of land with the hope of eventually building a house for themselves. They talked to this estate agent and paid him almost all of their savings in cash. Fernando told me it is not uncommon for more impoverished people in Colombia not to use banks or have bank accounts. After they paid him the money, the guy stopped replying to their calls or messages and started ghosting them. Because of which they started digging into him and discovered that this guy has loads of fake profiles on Facebook and lots of properties and plots of land that he is claiming are his to sell. They felt hopeless after discovering this. It dawned on them that they lost a ton of money, all their savings. This was their hope at a fresh start. Hearing this, Fernando told her that he would help them out. He took an old unused Facebook profile he had and changed the name on it. By replacing his profile picture, he made himself look like new money, profile picture in front of a pool, a big house and fancy cars in the background. He also bought a new SIM card and got in touch with this guy. He pretended to be interested in purchasing a property and they agreed to meet. Fernando told me the guy was quite trusting and naive himself, buying all of Fernando's BS about his wealth and his desire to buy a house. They agreed on a property Fernando was to put a deposit on, and so Fernando asked for his bank account to make the transaction. The guy was like, I'm having troubles with the bank, I would much rather we do this with cash. So Fernando told him he could only give him a few thousand through cash and not the full amount. They had agreed to meet yesterday in front of his letting agency. Instead, Fernando called the police and he arranged that they would be nearby with his sister and her partner. Just in case, Fernando put some heavy branches in his backpack, giving the illusion that it had a lot of cash inside. On the day, Fernando told the guy, I'm here, but I cannot see you. Send me your live location. So the other guy did, which Fernando forwarded to his sister, who was with the police at that time. As the guy was talking to Fernando on the phone, the police and his sister could hear his every word. Fernando finally met the conman outside the agency, who was nervously looking around to make sure they were alone. It was at that moment that the police jumped in and caught him. They discovered 9 fake IDs on him, as well as hundreds of pages of counterfeit property ownership similar to the ones that Fernando's sister Luisa was given. As they were arresting him, he tried to plead and even attempted to bribe the police, who luckily wasn't having any of it that day. We don't know yet if this story will have a happy ending. Louisa does not have a whole lot of evidence regarding the cash transaction and is unlikely to get the cash back through the court system. I am proud beyond words of my boyfriend basically organizing a sting operation, but it breaks my heart that Louisa and her daughter have been conned off of a fresh start. So, half vengeance. Well guys, and even though it is not sure whether or not Louisa will get her money back, I would still say that this is definitely a kind of happy ending, because the bad guy did indeed get caught. And the last one is a dog hero bonus story from r/ripe stories posted by user EPH2VV89. It is titled Dog Stops Break In. A story in today's video reminded me of a dog story that happened in the early 2000s. We had a pitbull/black lab mix we had adopted from a shelter several months earlier. She would bark every time a leaf blew somewhere in the province, so we learned to ignore it and tried to shut her up without checking anything out. One night my family, hubby, 4 kids and I were in bed and the dog started barking and wouldn't stop. We kept yelling at her to stop. Normally she would stop after a few minutes, but this time she didn't. Then we heard a voice outside yell, "Shut up, dog!" We assumed it was an irritated neighbor, but I thought the barking had gone on for a long time and maybe I should check it out. As soon as I turned the bedroom light on, the barking stopped. The next morning I was outside and I saw a basement window on the ground. The screen was completely missing. I put 2 and 2 together and realized she was barking because someone was breaking in. The voice telling her to shut up was probably the burglar. He probably hadn't heard my hubby and me yelling at her to shut up because the barking probably drowned it out. But when I turned on the bedroom light, it probably scared off the burglar. If the dog had not barked, we probably would have slept until the burglar was in sight, and who knows if someone or all of us could have been killed. And guys, unfortunately, we have already reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, then I would suggest you check out my endless binge watch playlist, which includes hundreds of hours of ripe Reddit content just here on YouTube. In addition guys, I do have to ask you for a favor. Lately I noticed that many of my new videos don't reach my old subscribers anymore for whatever reason, and so it would be really awesome if you could click the YouTube bell icon just to make sure that all my videos will reach you. This is especially true for people that are subscribed to my channel for longer than a year, because for some reason YouTube doesn't feel like it is necessary to always push out my subscription notices to these people as well. So thank you very much in advance, and I hope you have a great day, and I see you again tomorrow.